What is up, everybody? This is Michael from Mish Motorsports, and I cannot wait to give you a little update on how our fleet is doing. We do now have a fourth car between the Mercedes, the Lexus, and the Maxima that I have. We have a Ford Flex on the road. It's currently being rented out just like the Maxima. I'm actually going to pick up the Mercedes right now for my renter, and actually, very interesting kind of quirky thing happened. He brought his Mercedes to pick it up and is letting me drive his car back. Parked it here about 2 days ago, and we had a massive snowstorm, as you can see. Chicagoland is definitely prone to this kind of weather. But this is his C450. It's funny because he has an AMG styled car as well as a C63 AMG, but he wanted to rent the E63 just for a few days. And I personally am a big fan of this body style and this trim level. I think these wheels look awesome, and I think the diamond style grille is very eloquent. I got it cleaned off. Let's get on the road and get our car back. I'm enjoying the hell out of myself in this C450. It's really comfortable, it's pretty tight, it's a very luxurious interior, and I wouldn't really be able to notice very much of a difference between this and the E-Class. I feel like the dimensions are very, very similar on the sides. Once you delve a little deeper and you go into a soft flick test, it's obviously not the same quality of material or the same quality of build as the E-Class. But once you're just splitting hairs like that, it's honestly just personal preference. I'm like 50 at heart, so an E-Class probably makes a lot of sense. So the Flex that I bought was about $2,000. It has 98,000 miles on it, so it's a pretty good deal, I would say. Basically, it is just a very strong car, and it's got simplistic components that are cheap to fix, so it will be a very good moneymaker. Depending upon what platform I can rent it on, we'll probably be using HireCar because it has a lot higher productivity, and I prefer not to do that many handoffs with it. Turo is good for remote handoffs, but I live in Chicago, so Turo Go isn't available yet, and a remote handoff is a little bit difficult for me because I don't want to screw a keypad into my car. So there's that. Anyway, I'm trying to use the rental service to actually tap into a few different markets. I want to go luxury, and I also want to go lower end as well. The Flex is really good for the lower end, not only because it has 6 seats and 2 captain's chairs in the second row, which is really, really popular, especially along Uber riders who want to be more comfortable along their route. I think the drivers kind of appreciate it, and I know certainly as a passenger I appreciate not being stuffed on top of the person next to me. So I think the drivers themselves and the actual customers will appreciate that more. Hopefully that could actually come back to me in terms of longer term rental because they get better tips from being more comfortable. It's a long shot, but every little bit counts. If I'm getting the car below Kelley Blue Book value and still making money off of it in the meantime, if it eventually gets totaled out, it's not that big of a loss to me. It's actually possibly a net gain. The Flex is also built on the F-150 chassis, so not only can it haul things and has a tow bar, but you can put down all of the rear seats and basically extend it to a tow bed, making it one of the most utilitarian cars I've actually ever seen. I agree, it is ugly and it's boxy, but the Sony sound system and the utilitarianism is amazing. The Maxima is also for the lower end market. It is a newer Maxima, but I can get higher productivity out of it if I'm listing it on HireCar as opposed to Turo, so I prefer to make more money all of the time than a lot of money a smaller amount of the time. Does that make sense? Because I live near the city of Chicago, I have to be posting the cars in Chicago so that the vast majority of people who actually are on the platform can see it. Unfortunately, I live about 20 miles away from Chicago, so driving in and out to pick up and drop off cars is not only a hassle, sometimes it's almost impossible. I would almost always prefer a longer, lower effort renter than I would prefer a fly-by-night, single day or double day renter. Now with my luxury cars, I'm almost doing a loss leader strategy where I mark them down so much that I have a huge influx of renters. Obviously, because the cars are more expensive, they automatically have less renters. So you need to augment that by arbitrarily reducing the price and creating longer term rentals for yourself so you're not just sitting on dead weight the whole time. My luxury cars, being more expensive, tend to get rentals of about a day to 3 days max. Usually within that time period, I'll ask the rider if they want to extend their trip, and I'll give them $10 to $25 off a day. For my cars that rent out for about $100 to $150 a day, that makes a lot of sense because then instead of being dead weight, I'm still making the extra money. And if you choose the highest protection class on Turo, even though they take about 45% of your earnings, that means if your car is in the shop for anything, you still get revenue from the last 30 days averaged out. So if you can create longer term renters and you can just create some income, even when your car is inevitably and eventually going to be hit or damaged by a renter, you can always still be making money in the process. As most people are already aware, productivity is key in the service industry. And I come from a family of salon owners, so I have a similar mentality to booking salon clientele than I do normal clientele for my rental business. I've had my Nissan Maxima rented out for an unprecedented 5.5 months so far. I haven't seen my old personal car for 5.5 months. I've been earning money on it every single day since then. This one car alone has paid for my 3 other cars' car payments. And it's a Nissan Maxima, so I figure it can handle a couple miles, but we'll see about that CVT though. One of the most important things that I've learned from running a rental company is communication with your renters. Not only can this save you a lot from liability, but it will also save you from bad reviews on the platform, which will end up hurting your pocketbook as well. But even unforeseen issues. I've had hosts tell me that they had a person renting the car for 4 months and didn't tell them a thing, then returned it with bald tires. Can you imagine how dangerous that is? And now that host has to go and fix their car and take it off of the platform in the meantime while it gets new tires put on. And then the one that I've personally experienced, which is oil changes. The same long-term renter for the Maxima who likes to push back when they tell me that they need an oil change. So the oil change light is on and they're still probably adding a couple 100 miles. Even though I've told them several times to do it ahead of time, preemptively, and I will pay them out of pocket. It may be a time thing or an annoyance thing, or them not understanding the importance of changing your oil and getting that gunk out so your pistons don't seize up. But so if you have like $30 to $100, I would highly recommend buying an OBD2 data port collector. It plugs right into the OBD2 port on your car, usually somewhere right here under the driver's side, and it will connect to your phone. It will give you live mileage updates. It will give you if anything goes wrong, if a warning signal goes off, anything like that. This tool will relieve anxiety of knowing where your vehicle is. It will be able to track your vehicle if it was somehow getting stolen. It will let you know if there's anything that needs to be fixed and the renter isn't telling you about. Some of them even tell you if there were accidents or if a sensor goes off. So these things are really useful and generally tend to pay for themselves. Especially if your car is over like $4,000, invest less than 1% of the money into knowing where your car is at all times and having a data entry set on it.
See you too.
How was everything?
Good, very good. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, man, great to meet you.
I'm sure I'll see you again. This thing's absolutely beautiful.
Definitely, hope to do business with you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, back inside the AMG. So, if you are going to be listing on Turo, just be aware that people are going to smoke in your vehicles. So if it's a vehicle that you would prefer people not to smoke in, or you don't mind charging people smoking fees pretty regularly, then take that into consideration when you're actually listing your vehicle. This may hurt your repeat business, so generally I tend to offer them an incentive saying, sorry, unfortunately this is a no smoking vehicle, but if you'd like to ever book with me again, here's a large offer off of your next day. The guest that I had renting this E63 was a super cordial guy, definitely took good care of the car and tried to air it out beforehand, but you know, you can always tell when there's a little bit of residual smoke in the car. Arbitration with Turo tends to be a pretty easy experience, just make sure you have a lot of pictures of your car. And my final tip, take pictures of your car. The most important thing that you can do is take a bunch of pictures of your car. Definitely the undercarriage and anything else you think would be vital component to the vehicle, especially in an arbitration process later on. I take pictures of any plastic components, anything that can wear easily, the underside of the car, pretty much anything that I can so that if anything goes wrong, I can have it covered. I also check all of the tollway websites after most of my renters, especially my long-term ones, so I can check if I need any reimbursements before the window closes down. Woo! Look, beautiful. So much. Thank you. Have a good one.
Beautiful.
Nice to meet you. Have a good one.
Meanwhile, across town in this less than fashionable cubbyhole of the San Francisco Examiner, these editors are programming today's copy of the paper into that same Ohio computer machine. When the telephone connection between these two terminals is made, the newest form of electronic journalism winds up Mr. Howard. Meanwhile, across town in this less than fashionable cubbyhole of the San Francisco Examiner, these editors are programming today's copy of the paper into that same